Yes, this is Kyle. Are we going to see Dr. Hopper in a bigger role this season?
I'm told that there's lots of new things coming. I'm not entirely able to say, answer the question, but only because we're not supposed to talk about it. But I say that a lot of people have asked me that. I take it as a compliment. I thank you. Got other folks?
Hi, my question's for Lee. As an actor, when you open a script and say, "Oh, eggs, hatched, fully clothed, ready to go," what does it take for you to get there and make that authentic?
You know what? I go for it, guys. I mean, the way I look at it is, it's a puzzle. Each scene is a puzzle. I'm in class every week. I study. I go to my coach. I think about it. But at the end of the day, I just look at the words on the page and say them. And then I say them, and then I say them again, and I say them again. Tony Hopkins, he used to teach his acting class in this laundromat in Santa Monica because he liked these hot chicks. I heard about it, so I used to go there, just hang out and have a coffee with Sir Tony Hopkins and listen to what he said. And he had this thing where he would do his lines aloud in his room 200 times before he ever went to the set. And 200, man, I tried to do it 25 times, right? That's a lot of repetitions. He would always do it aloud so that he could hear it in his mind's ear what the character would say. And by the time he gets on the set, Jane's not going to like this, but I've never gotten a job by getting all the lines right. And honestly, it doesn't even matter what I say, it only matters how I say it. So what you do is you run these permutations, you go through it a bunch of times, and then on the day, you just look the fella in the eye, try not to hit the furniture, hit your mark, get the hell out. I swear, I've met actors, guys. I've met actors. I had a buddy of mine, Faustino, plays my brother Sleepy on the show. He had a 2-line part on the Killing, and he was super excited. I mean, this was his first role playing Sleepy. He comes to my room up in Vancouver, stoked about his performance and working on the Killing in addition to being on our show. And he's like, "Oh, I changed this, and I thought about this, and I did this." And I looked at him and I go, "Dude, do you realize that you've thought more about the 2 lines on the Killing than I did 3 pirate movies, all my Seinfeld, I'm lucky. I just plug it in and go, man. And I trust that everyone else is going to help me shape where I get to. It's a team effort, what we do, and we just happen to be the lucky guys that stand in front of the camera and get a lot of the credit. But what we do is a big team effort, and TV is a lot about, it's always led by writing. You need 22 badass scripts. Then you hope your director understands what the writer's intent is, and then you just hope that the studio gives you the budget to shoot what they want to shoot. So, just go for it, don't think about it, let her rip, baby.
Jane very quickly, do you have certain characters that are portrait characters like Jimmy Cricket and Rumpelstiltskin? Is that sort of something you're interested in writing, or is that something you're drawn to?
Oh, to write pre-existing characters and make them, and figure out ways to make them real. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. That's one of my favorite things. It's like, it's been a very long time since someone has typed the words Jiminy Cricket. Now dialogue. Okay, what does Jiminy Cricket say? Who writes for Jiminy Cricket? I love that. I love being able to delve into a classic character and yet figure out how to make them make sense. And yeah, that's a huge thrill for me. And I got to do it on other shows. I wrote an episode of Buffy in which Hansel and Gretel appeared, and I got that same sort of thrill there of like these characters already exist in some form in people's minds, and how cool to make them real.
The thing that's been exciting for me too then is because these Disney characters have been around for so long is that I found, maybe you have as well, that the range of the demographic, as they say, is sort of 8 to 80. I mean, my kids watch the show with me. They're 7 and 9, just turned 8 and 10. We huddle up on Sunday nights and watch the show. But, my mother is 80, and she grew up with these characters. and just is so sort of enthralled by the stories and what you know, whether you know them or you're just being introduced to them, they seem to work on two levels. And again, it's a very masterful thing that they're doing. It's not a small feat.
Where do we introduce the actor playing Mickey Mouse?
We jumped the shark. Right about that. That was a bad episode of Happy Days. I liked it. It was like,
Look at the bell out there in the audience. Is that a bell I see? Oh my God.
Thank you for
Got a question?
catching me eating my French toast this morning at the Metro Cafe. I was in the blue dress.
Yes, I tweeted her doing the. So you came with both bell outfits, so you could change it. Oh my God, you're fantastic.
I wanted to say, first of all, thank you very, very much for coming, and Sweet fans are really appreciative of you taking the time to answer our questions. And my big question probably doesn't surprise you. How early on did you guys decide that Rumpelstiltskin would be the Beast? And for that matter, how far out are these storylines sort of generally planned or written out? How far ahead do you guys think?
We think, well, it depends at what level of specificity. At the beginning of the season, we sort of do very broad strokes of, okay, this is where we're going this year. Then, before each clump of maybe 6 episodes, we sort of do it again with a little finer granularity. Okay, so then this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen. You get a little more refined. But an actual decision like that could be something that's figured out in advance. In fact, it wasn't. The Rumple is the Beast was figured out as we were going, like, okay, we're going to do Beauty and the Beast. Oh, hey, like, if I'm remembering it correctly, we were already planning Beauty and the Beast, and then realized, wait, we have the Beast right here. Let's do this. So it just totally depends. And you can't tell in retrospect. You can't look backwards and go, oh, I bet that was something figured out earlier, or I bet that was something added late. There's just so many moving parts that all of that stuff gets smoothed over.
Next question.
Hi. I love the fact that you have real actors that are dedicated to their craft. And Jane, I'm just so glad you're here. First of all, I want you to stand up and show us that knockout, that dress.
I don't know if this is really popular demand or if it's just one very nice lady.
Okay. I don't understand why, when people are talking about on the entertainment shows, the costumes about this movie, in the genre of the olden times. Honest, the mayor, as queen, has the most gorgeous costumes. It's just so gorgeous. And I just want to tell you that it is replacing Desperate Housewives because it's got 3 strong women.
That's right. That's right. There are very few shows like that where the top of the call sheet has so many women, and it really comes out of the history of fairy tales. Think of what's a well-developed male fairy tale character. There are very, very few. And we are lucky to have these 3 fine gentlemen because we've got a lot of girls, and I love it.
it's a tough business. It's a tough business.
Those girls are knockouts, though.
Tough guys, man. You ever seen like them wield a sword? They're all badasses,
Writing strong women who are driving story is a wonderful luxury, and there's a very rare thing that happens in any sort of scripted entertainment, which is 2 women in a scene without men in it, and they're talking about something other than men. It happens very rarely. It's called the Bechdel test, and our show passes it all over the place. We had a scene recently that you guys haven't seen yet, in which 2 of Prince Charming and another male character have a scene with him, and we realized how rarely do we see that? We almost never see 2 of our guys sitting down talking to each other. It's like a reverse Bechdel.
It's crazy. as we say, cray cray.
Another question?
Hi. This question is for Raphael.
Yeah.
After being cast as Cardonassi and Kate Alenko, were you concerned that you would spend the rest of your career typecast as the sexy home?
Oh, thank you for that question. I have to tweet that. I've done, for those of you who don't know, I do these video games, Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic. And I love doing them. They have a small audience, and they are a great pleasure. It's sort of weird in that I got cast as Jiminy Cricket, and obviously part of the role is voice acting. And they didn't necessarily, they knew nothing of that. It's just sort of a weird coincidence. I play Mass Effect, or have played Mass Effect a little bit, and it's very odd to be interacting with myself as Garth, or in this case, as Katie. It's an odd thing, but it's a great joy being a part of that community.
That was the best question
Were you
ever.
blown away by that scene with the whale, Pinocchio, and that was just a huge visual effects scene?
Yeah, it was, it was sort of interesting. I was up in Vancouver doing a new series called Continuum. Thank you. And wouldn't you know it, I'm in the midst of that, and that's when they write, the Geppetto storyline, and Geppetto Pinocchio story. So I'm thinking, oh, this has to happen, and I read the script, and I have to admit, again, I'm so glad you guys shared. I wept when I read it.
We are saps.
And but here's the thing. I thought, okay, are you weeping because it's just a good role? So, I read it like 3 days later, and I wept again. And it's, when you're in a hotel room in Vancouver, I'm thinking, okay, I got to get my wife up here quickly. But it was terrific because they worked it out, and it was a great workout in that we were on a beach. And then we were in this tank, and the tank work was amazing. And I arrive, and they say, okay, we're not going to put the little boy in with you. So they give him a microphone and put him up. And they gave me a workout that day, and I loved it. I have to say, I just loved being in. They had 3 humongous fans and wave machines, and there's, and you're just going up and down, and you're getting hit with some of these waves. And let me tell you, so you're trying to figure out a way of how not to, get it right in the face, but you're up there, and I was great the whole day. The first kept trying to ask me if I needed to get off, no, but I went home that night, tried to get on my computer, and all of a sudden, for the rest of the everything's moving, and I have to say, that scene with Monstro, it was nominated for an Emmy in visual effects, so that's a testament to it.
And also, just because you mentioned the costumes have also been nominated for an Emmy as well.
Yeah, and the makeup for Dreamy. Don't leave us out. But it's great too, because that's another thing. It's like, we shoot in Vancouver. We call it Hollywood North, and a lot of credit for the success of the show goes to the real people that work as the crew. Okay, so I'm very happy that we were nominated in the technical department, and recognizing obviously they should have nominated the writers. But
They'll get to us.
eventually, but the true heroes of what we do are the guys day in and day out that toe the line in the rain, in the schmutz. That is Vancouver. It's beautiful, but it gets wet up there. Yeah.
We sit in a comfy writer's room in Burbank, and at lunch we watch dailies and go, oh, they look so cold. So red.
Everyone's looking like a Michelin man. It's like 50 layers under there.
Did your question here?
2 forwards to my question. 1, thank you all, Jane, Lee, Raphael, Tony, the entire casting crew for breathing new life into old fairy tales that gave us hope and dreams. Thank you so much. For a character called Rummy, you are awfully cheerful.
Yeah, it's only name only, right? But it's interesting because the fact that the dude was born a dreamer, I like to say, look, there was a happy accident. He got touched by this fairy dust. But even when he loses his true love and kind of does the right thing and lets her go be a fairy godmother and he goes off to the mines, he's still a bit dreamy. Because you can't wipe that fairy dust off, yeah?
My question actually touches on that.
Okay, go for it. Sorry.
Romeo and I are in a life and love story, and we were told we were doomed to fail. So if you were given the chance to, the truth has come out, the magic is revealed, we all know what's going on now, and so do the characters. If Romeo was given a chance to write his love story, how would you write the finishing story for Romeo and the Fairy?
Dude, they're hitting the boat, man. It's a funny thing. It's like that dating thing in Storybrooke. It'll be me and Nova and our 8 kids, and they'll be, Doc and Sleepy. It'll be an interesting relationship. I hope baby's up for it.
The interesting thing too, I bet the 3 of us would probably agree that the last things that we want to see written after our character story is, and they lived happily ever after. We do not want to hear that, because then the story is over, So we actually enjoy the complications.
I think the happy ending for this show is syndication.
Woo! Next question. Over there. Whether it be romance, tragedy, or triumph, or anything, what was your favorite part of the first season and why?
Favorite what?
Best scene in your opinion, whether it be romance, tragedy, triumph.
Like which one of those they want to play next year?
No. Whether or not your favorite part was romance, tragedy, or triumph, part of the story. What was your favorite part of the story, first season? Why?
Romance. I got to write Skin Deep, and that was my favorite.
No, specifically character. Like the apple eating of the I'm sorry.
I actually literally can't hear the words. Can you hold it loud?
Romance, tragedy, or triumph from the story.
Hold the microphone straight in front of your face.
All right.
Romance, tragedy, or triumph. Which
or in any category, the story-wise, what was your favorite part? Why?
I think my answer was good. Romance.
Yeah, I would go romance too, man.
No, character. As in,
Well,
hitting the apple, she kissing him, and he's
It's like, what's your favorite scene?
Yeah, I think this is
Scene, yeah.
I think he mentioned that.
one of my favorite scenes is actually in that Mad Hatter episode. I love this thing. Sebastian gives this impassioned speech about how he's tortured, blah, blah, blah. And then Emma Swan just goes like, she clocks him. She just wanted Emma Swan. And I was like, because that's the thing about the show, is that it's reverently irreverent. You see? You get to a point where you expect this to go right, and we fake right and clock you with the left. and I think that's what I love about it, and it makes it a sexy show. Because these characters seem real because they take twists and turns that you don't expect.
I think my favorite moment, not really a scene, but a moment when Snow and Charming see each other in the finale and recognize each other.
I love the opening moments of the pilot with the big date.
Yeah.
Where you think it's going to go one way, and you have it's sort of a Prince Charming is there with her, and she's a big, she's put the boot on his car. Do you remember way back when? And she sort of chases him down. I just love that. Yeah, sort of your typical date. I'm thinking it's sort of it was terrific. But I have to say I loved Lee's birth. Again, was a great moment coming out of that egg, and I loved Raphael telling off Lana.
Yeah.
Just standing up, I love that.
Woo!
There's so many moments, and I have to say, you guys know me from other series, which I was very, very grateful for, but this is one of the few series that I literally have watched every single episode that we are sort of fans, and it's
and also it's rare too. I would say that I think all of our favorite moments are someone else's moments.
Just because they're both here, I've been answering in terms of there's so many different scenes that have gone through my head. There's a scene in the pilot where Lee goes, where he rings the bell and says, "It's coming!" I love that. And then I remember this, the last moment of your episode, Tony, where Pinocchio says, do you want to come in? You invite him in, and he says, I like to fix things. That just killed me. I remember being knocked up by that. It's so thrilling to go to work with such wonderful artists, and then also just to see how it all comes together. It's pretty remarkable.
It's a happy show. You get that? It's a happy show.
Actually have fun up there.
New question here?
Hi, this is for all of you. How is working on the show affected your life?
How's working on what?
How working on the show affected our lives.
We can pay our mortgages.
Gee whiz, there's so many ways in which let me say is that I've been an actor for a really long time. I've had lots of different wonderful ups and downs. I've never been on a show that is of this size, that really it has such ambition as a show. Have it then also be such a success, and both sort of now with the internet and with how these shows are traveling, not just here, but literally the kind of the tweets that we get from all over the world are incredible. So how this, not all American shows, as they say, travel. This one's got legs. So that's also quite remarkable, and it's a little overwhelming sometimes because I sort of take my breath away, the scope of that. But it's a really interesting experience. I mean, I sort of realize now, I just say to someone in the cast, one day when you read my obituary, it will say, Rafael Sparge, the actor who formerly played Jiminy Cricket. These roles will leave their imprimatur on us, I believe, long after we're gone. It's a big feeling.
I know that there's a big difference in my life. When I used to tell people I worked on Buffy, the most common reaction was, "Oh, Buffy the Vampire, I don't watch animated shows." And then I went to Battlestar Galactica, where a common reaction was, "Is that still on?" And we think of these shows as big hits, but that's because it's a big hit in our community. Now this is a network hit. I don't have to say a show called. I can say I work on Once Upon a Time. I don't have to say a show called Once Upon a Time. That's really nice. I've had a long career, and it's really nice to be on a network hit where people know what you're talking about, and where something this geeky, that's this much we all are, is now being seen by mainstream people as worthy of their lives.
Once Upon a Time was the highest rated new show of the year.
Yeah. What can I do to support the show? It's like, we're doing good. People think because it's good that it must be in trouble. It's doing awesome.
Hi. So a lot of the backgrounds in the fantasy world are computer generated. So you film a lot in front of green screens. What are some of the challenges working in a room with very little surroundings?
Working with green screen?
Yeah.
I mean,
we have this thing called the Zeus system that we work. It's Jim Cameron system. So, I've done a lot of green screen work over the years and a lot of the pictures, and it used to be, you have to really activate your mind to kind of figure out where you're at. But we have this amazing kind of set. It's got all gridded up all over, so that what you see, when we're looking at it, is a green screen stage with some tape to show where the hallways are and a couple key pieces of furniture. They're watching it on the monitor fully rendered. It gets fed through the computer. The computer generates the image of whatever the scene is, including shadows on the floor, exactly as there'd be from imaginary chandeliers. So we're able to actually go and say, oh yeah, that's what we're looking out the window. So technology is advancing and really helping us when we get into those green screen situations. And listen, man, it's almost like being back in college or drama school on the day, because you're still going to dark and a low ceiling hallway when really you're in a giant stage. So it's a combination of the technical abilities of the computer and of course, our imaginations.
I was talking to one of the visual effect guys as well, and he was saying one of the exciting things about kind of the technology as it has sort of moved along, that in terms of the ability and the speed that they have now to do what they're doing, what Lee has just explained, and also then after we're shooting, it allows us to sort of give this show this kind of level, the quality of the image is so high. It's what you would normally see in a feature, which of course takes almost a year to produce.
Well, for example, when I did Pirates, right, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first movie when we were the baddies who were, in the moonlight, they used to have to all done with a locked off camera, no movement from the camera, right? Then they would layer the film on it. So you would do one as a reference, where you'd actually play the scene. Then, say the curse guy would step out, the guy I'm fighting with would do a mime. Then he would step out and they would shoot a clean plate of it. And then they go back up to ILM and layer to get your image, right? By the second movie, a couple years later, they were able to do the Davy Jones crew in full light with moving camera because the computers had elevated. And now, this is translated all the way through after Avatar into the TV world. And so it's absolutely right. You're getting a higher quality product because the people behind these technicians, the people that really run the business, are coming up with some absolutely fantastic and game-changing ideas and bringing it into our industry.
Lee is right. There's been a lot of progress, and you can get a better idea of what you're acting with now. But it's sort of oddly hard for me because they still haven't figured out how to put Jiminy Cricket in without putting him on a fishing rod in front of my face. And now you have a double issue because you have if you really sort of take a second to think about what you're doing, I mean, it just brings number one. And secondly, you have to train your ear to not follow the sound because Raphael might be off screen doing the sound, or he may not be there, so, but it's always this sort of, Jiminy Cricket on fishing boat. That's so funny to have
The Blue Fairy,
and the
the same
Blue Fairy.
thing.
Oh, the Blue Fairy.
The scene where I had to basically sort of make a wish and decide to become a brick. She is cute, but I didn't mean to say that. You're talking to literally a stick. You're literally talking to a stick. So some things endure that don't sort of the technology has not done.
Yeah, we haven't fixed how to figure out how to do the fairy. Unspoken hot.
Next question. Okay.
We can keep the answers kind of short and we can get more people through. Alright, I know y'all don't want the show to end because, of course, revenue at the point, but you're dealing with a show with fairy tales, so you're always looking for that happy ending as the audience. Is that something that they're keeping in mind as they're going through making the episodes and shows? Or just something that they're just going to push on as long as they can and then maybe never do the happy ending?
Yes.
Such a dude.
There's a big difference between what the audience wants and what the audience thinks they want. We all watch TV going like, oh, I hope they'll be happy this time. When in fact, in your heart, you kind of know, like, but I want to watch the show for a bunch of years. And I don't want them to have a happy ending. And I think a really good solution to that is something that Buffy did over and over. You give Buffy what she wanted, but it comes with a cost that starts a whole new thing of, you all really wanted that curse broken. Hey, the curse is broken. Oh my God, what's that cloud? What's wrong with doing?
All magic comes with a price.
Yeah, see happy endings on our show. It's not all crying. Characters found Rumble again, tremendously happy. But I think you guys know they're probably not just like open up bread and breakfast. And, there's going to be stuff in the future that's going to bring more trauma and more travails, and so it's a mixture. And you never want to just, until it's the end of season 12, you don't want to sort of have everybody happy all at the same time. Like, we know we are yearning for it, but we also want that 12 years, right?
Your question over here?
Yes. We know, of course, obviously, we noticed how you included Alice in Wonderland in the fairy tale world. And I think a lot of us know that Peter Pan is going to be incorporated next season. And I was just wondering, for each of you, if you saw a classic kind of fairy tale universe or story universe incorporated, what would your
fairy tale. I'm voting for Jane Austen.
I'm voting for the Kama Sutra.
I'm voting for the Blue Fairy.
I'm voting for Obama.
Next question again?
Yes, my question's for Tony. You were saying that you see a fierceness in Geppetto. Well, there was also a fierceness in Master Braytak from Stargate SG-1, and then there's also that protective instinct in both Braytak and Geppetto. Is there any other similarities that you see between those two characters?
No. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Because I guess what I'm saying is Braytak was a type of character, if there was a problem, he'd go out and find a solution for it. He was active. And Geppetto is a much more accepting sort of guy, and he's burdened by his poverty and by so many things, the way his life has been dealt to him until he gets this little boy. But so consequently, I see Geppetto as more, accepting the burden of life, putting it there, until he has someone to protect. And once he has someone to protect, the fierceness of Braytak and the fierceness of Geppetto are equal in my mind. There's no difference. So there's no difference. So
Over there?
Since a lot of the stories in the fairy tale world haven't entirely been told all the way through, especially in that first season, how did you guys kind of show the characters and where they ended up, even though you haven't heard or know all of your own backstory yet? How do you keep that straight and get that to play across and keep it open enough so you guys can add more to the characters as we go?
I think sort of seeing how we've done it, we reference, we see a character have a certain adventure, and we sort of see how that adventure resonates with their current life, but we very rarely fill in every year. We leave room for future adventures so we can go back and tell other stories. I think I had a concern early on of like, gee, aren't we going to run out of fairy tales? Until you realize, like, who knows what adventures Snow White had during that time when she was a bandit. We left the timeline a little loose there, so we could go back and we could tell, for instance, a Snow Bandit story. We've done it with lots and lots of stories. There are tales we know nothing of, and they've been left that way on purpose, because these characters hopefully will have a very long future life and a very long backstory life.
Hard to say, we've got one more left. Sorry.
Hi, I'm going to make this real quick. With excluding the main cast of Emma, Snow White, Prince Charming, is there any particular fairy tale character that you would like to see overlap with your own story?
That is a good question.
Everyone seems to like the Blue Fairy.
That is probably a porno that we should probably.
In terms of kind of, I'll be curious, and they've sort of intimated that there's some romance coming to Storybrooke, and I'd be curious kind of where, in Dr. Hopper's case, what his romantic life is, and who then intercepts that. I'd be curious kind of where that takes us, just from my side.
I mean, for me, I trust these guys. It doesn't say writer next to my name. And I think that's real important. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you'll get an actor that's like, well, why am I drinking tea? Well, dude, it says it in the script. And I think there's a time when we do need to shut the brain off. I told you that before. It's like we don't think about that. Our job is to like, what did they come up with? Okay, now it's our turn. They know what we can do now. They know what we can say and how we can do it. So it's that jazz process of the way we work, right? They do their thing, we do ours. Obviously, we all want to carry the ball. We all want to get off the bench and run for a couple hundred yards and score 10 touchdowns. I mean, that's the ego behind every actor. And if he denies it, man, well, he's going to get run over by me. And I tell you something, that's what's really most thrilling about this cast and getting to work. The honor it is with these gentlemen and the rest of the people is I respect the hell out of them as performers. These are great actors in this this show. You know, except for me, but whatever. You know? These dudes are, and I'm telling you, it is a thrill when you toe a mark with Rafa and Tony and Bobby, you know, and Josh. Where did he come from, right? I mean, that dude is a talented guy, right? So we are very lucky when you get in a scene with Lana. So there's so much to explore just within our own relationship of the characters already there that I wouldn't presume to think of anything cool enough that Jane could. She could obviously out-cool me, my brain. I'd rather have her just have her take on it, you know, and leave it to the pros. And I think that's what really is great about this show, is everyone is trusted to do their job. As long as everyone does their job to the best of the ability, then you just let the chips fall where they may. And I think that's the thrilling thing with our executive producers, our showrunners. They trust us to do that. And that to me is one of the biggest thrills of the business, is when they aren't there. They say, go kids, we give you your toys, go do your job. That's when you want to step up and be counted. That's thrilling.
Thank you so much to Tony.